Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to take and look at the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. I always do that too. I don't know why. And I'm going to give you my financial opinions. If you guys need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. We do platinum question and answer sessions on the weekends. We've got one that's coming up. I think it's Sunday at 5 p.m. coming up. And we'll see everyone there who's a member. So let's dive in. Let's take a look and see what the markets are telling us. So DXY, again, I'm going to back out real quick. We've got this strong white line right here. That's that resistance support level going across there. Yeah, right there. So we're bouncing right on that support level. Are we going to break back to the upside, or are we going to break back down? And what's going to cause that? Generally, an increasing interest rate environment remains bullish to the upside, it means stronger dollar. If rates come back down and we get a recession and people get scared, I think we're going to see a lowering of the dollar. We saw that in 2020. You can see in 2020 we had a March kind of going all over the place there, and then we kind of came back down, and then we ripped it on to the upside. So we're right on support for the dollar, and it does look like that could continue to the upside. So let's look what yields look like, because they're also tied to the strength of the dollar. We go to 2-year yields. 2-year yields are just hanging out. They've just been drifting higher. So that looks like it might continue. I don't see too many reversal candlesticks here. We saw a little bit of selling pressure here. I should say pressure for yields to go down, not selling. That'd be buying pressure for bonds. But that still looks like it's in an uptrend to some extent. The 10-year yield down 0.48, but we're still in this flag pattern. So is this kind of all we're going to get, and is this going to break to the upside again? It kind of looks like it might be the case. If that's the case, that means higher yields. If we get higher yields, it could be stronger dollar, potentially. And we're also, big long-term view, right on top of support for yields. Looking at the 30-year yield, the 30-year yield's also broken its downtrend line, and we've broken to the upside of this pattern. So it looks strong, doesn't look weak, and yields have been drifting its way on up. So that looks good there for higher yields. TYX TNX ratio, that is coming back up a little bit. What that means is that the yield curve is uninverting, but the yields didn't really go up or down a lot today. Neither did the dollar. So we're pretty flat, flattish, we'll call it. This to me still looks like it could go up and the yield curve could uninvert. That would be positive for gold. Bond prices sideways, and we're just trampoline jumping sideways here. We've got gold. Gold is right on support. There we are, right on support. Are we going to break this to the downside, or are we going to bounce off that support level to the upside? Again, I think if we get stronger yields and a larger inverted yield curve, we could come back a little bit. If we get an uninversion of the yield curve and start to head on higher, that also happened during the last commodity bull market. We had the curve uninvert for a period of time, then it reinverted when they lowered interest rates. And that is a possibility. But right now, we're right on support, and we'll see which direction it goes. Silver having a little bit better day today, 1.6% higher. But again, this could easily roll over if we don't get enough buying pressure. You can see this large selling pressure candlesticks there. And a lot of the times it kind of goes up, rehits, and then comes back down. Platinum up a little bit, about 9.65. We've got a lot of momentum here. Let that momentum dissipate first. That's what I would say. XAU to gold ratio, it's moving sideways up 0.83%. Still need to break that downtrend line for the happiness to kick in for gold and silver mining companies. and the owners of those shares. CRB index up 0.17%. Not a huge day up, but we're again at support. That support going across here. We've hit it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times right now. So we're just moving sideways with that. CRB to S&P 500 still in a downtrend. Just let that thing work its way out. I do think that we're going to see pressure in the S&P at some point, downward pressure, which is going to push this guy up and really accelerate it. GDX up 0.94%, right on that blue line support going across. So we're on support. GDXJ up 1%. Looks a little bit different there. And SILJ up 1.63%. We're in this pattern down here. Do we have any support going across? Yeah, we got some support over here, all through here and through here that we're right at. So we got good downside support right underneath us. Crude oil up 0.7% or so. We've just been tracking sideways. We do have small candlesticks. So there is some buying pressure under here. But if we keep knocking on this, if we keep bouncing off this and bouncing off this and bouncing off this, eventually it will break and we could see a washout sale to the downside if it continues to bounce on it. We'll have to see what the candlesticks look like. Natural gas heading higher, up 1.7%. We do have this kind of roundish bottom that's coming down. We'll see if that momentum can continue. I think natural gas, very cheap when in relationship to a bunch of different assets. I think it doesn't look that bad down here in this general area for some pickups, we'll call it. XOP, yeah, you know me, up 1.55 against its trend line. Smacking up against the trend line. We'll see if we can break through it. OIH up 2.27%. That's looking better, and it does look like we could continue higher to the upside, which means XOP probably could continue higher as well. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, slightly lower. We're still above this resistance line. This is putting in a retest move, and we'll see if we can launch to the upside here over the next week or two. URNM holding strong. Again, we've broken this downtrend to the upside. Now we're going to do a retest move. Then we need to see a surge higher. URNJ is just along for the ride, the little junior guys, doing what the big boys do. TAN up 0.5%. Looks like this is a difficult one to read here, guys. Man, does it still have a little bit more of a washout downward move in the short term? Looks like it could. But longer term, it looks like it wants to go higher. I'm not a huge believer in a lot of these companies because they just don't make a lot of money. I'm into stuff that makes money. But here's the way it falls is generally the way that it goes back up. Consolidation here, consolidation here. COPX up 1.6% for the copper miners. We're just in a sideways pattern here. It's waiting for launch. So we'll look at copper and see what that's doing. Lithium still looks good. Still looks like we could go on up. Had a nice little up day, but came back from the resistance. REMX also looking good, like it could go up. We've got these higher lows here. And then hopefully we can break to the upside. SPX down a little bit. Is this going to accelerate to the downside? Well, let's find out. We've come on up. Is this a top, and is this going to be the final top here where we launch to the downside? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't really have anything in SPX, so there's no skin in the game here. I'm just watching it. And the NASDAQ coming back down. If we see higher yields, I would expect this to actually crash. What this would be is your top, and then you get another bull. This is a bull trap here. And then you get a big old move to the downside after a bull trap. If that is the case. I don't know that for fact, but that's what I'm kind of looking for. And we'll see if this accelerates to the downside in terms of selling pressure. Emerging markets flat with the flat dollar. We've got home builders, they're up, but is this going to actually roll over? We've seen some stronger pricing in real estate over the past, March, April timeframe, and May. But again, we'll see where this goes. But it looks like we could potentially break to the upside. Moo also holding together today, up 0.6%. Take those guys out of there. And I don't know, it doesn't look that bad. We've got good buying pressure in here, and then the small selling pressure. I mean, it still could roll on up, but sometimes in the short term, guys, you get like conflicting data where you got lots of selling pressure, lots of buying pressure. You're in these patterns that are just kind of chopping back and forth. Sometimes it gets hard to read, and you just kind of have to wait. But this still looks good to go on up for Moo. Copper down 0.5%, up against support. We'll see if that support holds. There it is on the long term. We've got a lot of support through this area here, and we're basically sitting on top of that support region. The volume is all underneath us. Iron ore down 0.5%. This still looks good to move higher, though. I think this looks good to move on up. We've broken out of this falling wedge. Everything looks good there. Nickel down 1.14%. Could this actually head lower? It looks like it could potentially try to head lower for nickel. This could be a double top that we could head a little bit lower in. Aluminum, and that's just in the short term, guys. Aluminum down a little bit. Looks like we are testing the support level. We'll see if that support level holds for the price of aluminum. Baltic Dry Index continues its move higher. I do expect this to break there and move on up. Why do I think that? Well, we've got, from a herd mentality, a falling wedge that's broken to the upside, and we're drifting, but I do expect this to move on up. We're coming from really low levels for the Baltic Dry Index down here, guys. It is really cheap compared to history. And it's probably one of the cheapest sectors compared to other assets. Newcastle coal, again, this thing needs to base out. Just give it time. I wouldn't try to be a hero here. Nobody likes catching falling knives because you're just going to get cut. Ethereum down a little bit, but this thing's got some good momentum to the upside. We'll see if oh man, it's a little bit stronger selling pressure day today, right on resistance. But we'll see where that goes. And then Bitcoin, this looks really strong. It may have a little bit of a pause at some point, like sideways or something like that, and then work its way back on up. Flag pattern, pennant pattern, whatever the heck it does. I don't know what's going to do, something like that. But that's what I see in the markets, guys. And I'd say it's not a super easy read. It looks like we're kind of just floating sideways on a lot of stuff. That may continue for a while. Doesn't mean we have to go higher. Doesn't mean we have to go lower. We may float sideways, consolidate sideways, and then whenever we get some sort of number or catalyst, and then boom, it goes. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Not really much else to talk about. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. We do go over individual companies during our question and answer sessions. I don't really hold anything back during those. And you can see how I'm positioned, what I'm buying, what I'm doing. I can't give advice or anything like that, but you can see what I'm doing at least. But that's what I've got for today, guys. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.